Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari
Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari
Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Vranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, thank you very much for joining today's lecture. Today we are talking about Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, and we are on the chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva. Please try to repeat after me. I will hopefully pronounce it right. Shamudrim Deva Devoktam Upayeme Shatadrutim Ya Vikshacharu Sarva Angim Kishorim Sustvalan Kirtam Parikram Antim Udvae Chakame Gnishukimiva. Is anyone inspired to try? Shamudrim Deva Devoktam Upayime Shatadrutim Yam Vikchacharu Sarvangim Kishorim Svatpalankritam Parikramanti Mudvaye Shakamigni Shukimiva
Samudrim Deva Devaktam
Samudrim Deva Devoktam
Upayeme Shatadrutim
Upayeme Shatadrutim
Yam Vikshya Charu Sarvangim
Yam Vikshacharu Sarvangim
Kishorim Shushpalankritam
Kishorim Sustalankritam
Parikramante Mudvae
Parikramanti Mudvae
Chakamegni Sukimiva
Chakamegni Shukimiva. Thank you very much. So, word by word translation. Samudrim, unto the daughter of the ocean. Deva Deva Uktam, being advised by the supreme demigod, Lord Brahma. Upayeme, married. Shatadrutim, of the name of Shatadruti. Yaam, whom. Vikshaya, seeing. Charu, very attractive. Sarva, Sarva Angim, all the features of the body. Kisharim, youthful. Shushtu, sufficiently. Alankirtam, decorated with ornaments. Parikram Antim, circumambulating. Udvae, in the marriage ceremony. Chakame, being attracted. Agni, the fire god. Shukim, unto Shuki. Eva, like. So, translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Barishat, henceforward known as Prachina Bari, was ordered by the supreme demigod, Lord Brahma, to marry the daughter of ocean named Shatadruti. Her bodily features were completely beautiful, and she was very young. She was decorated with the proper garments, and when she came into the marriage arena, and began circumambulating it, the fire god Agni became so attracted to her that he desired her company, exactly as he formerly desired to enjoy Shuki. And purport. In this verse, the word Shushtav Alankirtan is significant. According to the Vedic system, when a girl is married, she is very profusely and gorgeously decorated with costly saris and jewelry. And during the marriage ceremony, the bride circumambulates the bridegroom 7 times. After this, the bridegroom and bride look at one another and become attracted for life. When the bridegroom finds the bride very beautiful, the attraction between them immediately becomes very strongly fixed. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, men and women are naturally attracted to one another. And when they are united by marriage, that attraction becomes very strong. Being so strongly attracted, the bridegroom attempts to set up a nice homestead and eventually a good field for producing grains. Then children come, then friends, and then wealth. In this way, the male becomes more and more entangled in the material conceptions of life, and he begins to think, oh, this is mine, and it is I who am acting. In this way, the illusion of material existence is perpetuated. The words Shukim Iva are also significant, for the fire god Agni became attracted by the beauty of Shatadruti, while she was circumambulating the bridegroom Prachina Bari, just as he had previously been attracted to the beauty of Shuki, the wife of Saptarishi. When the fire god had been present long ago at the assembly of Saptarishi, he was attracted by the beauty of Shuki when she was circumambulating in the same way. So Agni's wife, named Swaha, took the form of Shuki and enjoyed sex life with Agni. Not only fire god Agni, but heavenly god Indra and sometimes even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, all very, very highly situated demigods, all of them are subject to being attracted by sex at any time. The sex drive is so strong in the living entities that the whole material world is running on sex attraction only, and it is due to the sex attraction that one remains in the material world and is obliged to accept different types of bodies. This attraction of sex life is more clearly explained in the next verse. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinobandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutedevi Pranamami Haripriye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, preparing for today's lecture, I was listening to Pancharatna Prabhu, his lecture that he gave in Mayapur 2012. I think it was March 16. And this is the basis for my, attempted kata today. It's strongly influenced by that lecture. And in his lecture, Pancharatna Prabhu, on this shloka, he said, among first things, that fundamental principle of this material existence is known as attraction between men and women, or men and women. That's the basic principle of material life. And it's pretty much the same way like we would say that the basic principle of water is liquidity, or basic principle of fire is heat or light, in the same way. So if we look at this wonderful creation around us, the whole material world that we can perceive, we can see that actually everything around us is more or less live, right? So there is a symptom that everything is live. And what is the basic principle behind all that beings being alive? It's of course sex. So, and even if we would disregard Srimad Bhagavatam for a second here, I know we won't, but because I'm sitting here on Vyasa-san, but let's indulge the idea that we are discussing this with a materialistic person, and if we disregard Srimad Bhagavatam for a second and explain the same thing to materialists, I'm pretty sure they would agree that sex life is pretty much all there is. It's the most important thing. Or at least it's something that drives society nowadays. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes that those who have demonic nature, those who have no idea of Krishna, basically those who have no slightest idea of any kind of spirituality, those kind of people, they deny spiritual existence, and for them, sex is basically all in all. That's all. They're interested in one way or another. And so in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 16, text or shloka 8, Krishna himself says, Asyatam aparishtatam te jagad aur anishvaram aparaspara sambhutam kim anyat kama haitukam. And translation for that is, they say, the world is without absolute truth, without any basis for moral order, and without God, who has created or is controlling it. It is created from combination of two sexes and has no purpose other than sexual gratification. So this is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So there is no other cause in this material world, just kama or lust. This is what we are being constantly told in Vedic scriptures. So in biological terms, we can call this even propagating genes. Maybe you heard people saying, I need to propagate my genes. You know, if I die, then at least my dynasty will live on, and in that sense, I will live forever, or whatever concepts they have. But you heard that for sure, right? So this is typical materialistic thinking, and I must admit myself that I heard that many times, specifically old folks talking about that. So biology teaches us how better genes are picked up and the species will survive, something like that, right? So it's all endowed or dovetailed around sex life, basically. Materialistic point of view is that body is me, it is mine, and somehow or other I must propagate me and mine, right? People are thinking, when I die, like I said, I will continue my dynasty, and then I will live. My gene pool will go on. And actually, if you're looking for someone to blame for all this, look no further than Lord Brahma. So he is responsible for this, and let me show you how. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, in 6th canto, 18th chapter, text 30, translation of it, I will not bother you with my wonderful Sanskrit pronunciation. I will just go directly to translation. In the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma, the father of the living entities of the universe, saw that all living entities were unattached. To increase population, he then created women from the better half of man's body, for a woman's behavior carries away man's mind. And then I will read just a small purport, or a small part of the purport. Srila Prabhupada explains that this entire universe is going on under the spell of sexual attachment, which was created by Lord Brahma to increase the population of the entire universe, not only in human society, but also in other species. As stated by Rishabhadeva in the 5th canto, the entire world is going on under the spell of sexual attraction and desire between man and woman. When man and woman unite, the hard knot of this attraction becomes increasingly tight, and thus a man is implicated in the materialistic way of life. This is the illusion of the material world. So, to increase this population, basically this was a task given to Lord Brahma by Lord Krishna, right? So it's Lord Brahma didn't do this all because he's mean or something. He did this because that was instruction to him by Lord Krishna, and he took this as a really big service, right? Devotional service. So he went on to create a place for all these living entities that desire to forget Krishna and try to be enjoyers themselves. That also means to enjoy sex life, this interaction, which is also present in Krishna, right? So this also exists in Krishna. But due to our perverted understanding, we mix it up with lusty sex desire. Nothing to do with Krishna. But because we are here, I mean, one of the main reasons why we are here is because of that belief. And because we think we can enjoy sex life outside of Krishna, without having Krishna as a main goal. So our love becomes twisted, and then we have this perverted understanding that actually sex life is love. Nothing to do with it. And I'm sure many of you already know that. So because we want this kind of enjoyment for ourselves, we are here to experience it, but in kind of imitation kind of way, right? Why imitation? Because love between Krishna and all his expansions, all his associates, it's without envy, without jealousy, without enmity. So that's something that is definitely present in love that we think here in material world is love, right? So this is how you can immediately differentiate what is pure love. So only love, nothing else. That is the nature of those relationship with Krishna, right? But here what we find is that men and women are actually attracted without any love. In the example given, Agni didn't even see this person. So this is generally the case with arranged marriages also, right? You can understand that. So Brahma arranged all this in order to create this knot of attraction. Since love is not there, no question about it, well, at least not in a way that we consider real love based on the spiritual concept. There is only pure material farce, as Pancharatra Prabhu said it. So basically he's telling us that all this material love that we see, romantic love that we see, I don't know, in movies or whatever, that every materialistic person is infatuated by, is nothing else but a joke, right? If you look a little bit more into it, especially if you compare it with some spiritual concepts of love. So before I continue further with that there is no love in this material world and everything is so dark and gloomy, I want to just tell you a little story, because reading this shloka, I was, especially this part, let me read it for you again. Yes, when a girl is married, she is very profusely and gorgeously decorated with costly saris and jewelry, and during the marriage ceremony, the bride circumambulates the bridegroom 7 times. So this reminded me of my marriage with Lokapavani back in 2009 in Zagreb, in Croatia, in the Hare Krishna temple there. And I was immediately transported there, and I remembered, oh yes, she was circumambulating me, and 7 times, and then they tied the knot between my chadar, I think it was called chadar, and her sari, and then we needed to circumambulate the sacrificial fire for, I think, also 7 times. And I was totally confused. I even remember, I think she was as well. That was our, I think, second, or maybe even first time that we were in the temple all together. So you can imagine, no clue whatsoever about the process. And even Brahmana, the priest who was actually performing sacrificial fire and everything, this yagya, he was saying to us, just try to repeat after me, you know, all these Sanskrit words. And we were like, I mean, I even couldn't hear him properly, and I was really embarrassed that I couldn't even follow what he is saying. And I will get to that, how this all happens, but why am I telling you all this? By the way, we learned Srila Prabhupada Pranam just the day before. We were told to, I mean, we basically met devotees maybe 6 months prior to this event of getting married. And they told us, or this one devotee that we were associating with, he told us to chant more than 16 rounds for at least 10 days prior to the marriage. And just before that, we were barely even touching 16 rounds. You know, it was like on and off, and you know, so this was like a total shock for us. You know, we need to stay committed, and then there will be this marriage, and it was like, what is going on here in this marriage ceremony? And I remember also a part where, you know, there are circles, and I'm supposed to lead my future wife as she goes from one circle of rice on the floor to the next one, and each circle represents some kind of blessing. And I remember so vividly, one of the blessings was that we will have many cows. And I was thinking, wow, I mean, no way, man, many cows. I'm living in the middle of the city, you know, big city. I'm urban kid. I mean, I haven't even seen a cow in life, you know, in person. I don't see that happening anyways. And just to show you how Krishna is personal and how he fulfills his promises, now I'm in the country that has so many cows. So this is how it happened, right? I mean, this is how it turned to be fulfilled. Anyways, this devotee that we met, why am I telling you all this? This devotee, he was Sankirtan leader of all ex-Yugoslavia. So basically helping to form all these temples around, and we had some incredible luck that that was the first devotee that we met. And he was really, you know, he was old school devotee. So he was preaching to us really, you know, without any packaging, just straight, you know. One of the things that he said was, you see, love in this material world, nope, doesn't exist. This ingredient is simply not there. And it was not about the words that he used, but it was about conviction that I could see in his eyes. It was like, you know, talking to, I don't know, 500 years old person who's seen some stuff, and you know, there is no shadow of a doubt that this is true. It was like, wow, okay. But still, personally, I was really confused about the idea, because I thought, no, come on. I mean, I can see love around in this world. It cannot be that there is no love as an ingredient. But then again, there was this really strong conviction, and this kind of shattered my, you know, beliefs. So, anyways, back to the story, to the lecture from Pancharatra Prabhu. So man comes into contact with a beautiful woman for the first time in this marriage ceremony, and he's presented with the idea that here she is yours. So when a man sees this beauty in front of him and he thinks, this is mine, she is now becoming attachment, and this attachment takes place and it's there forever, for whole life. At least that's the idea, right? So there is a purpose in making this ceremony very beautiful, so there will be more attachment, of course. And another thing that's very interesting is man can see his better half, and it is also mentioned in the shloka. So man is missing something here, right? And then in the shloka it is mentioned that Lord Brahma took their better half, so beauty, femininity, all these beautiful qualities are taken out of the men, and so men don't tend to have them. And they see this in women, and they get immediately attracted because they're missing something. So these qualities are all in women, and naturally, what happens, also says in the shloka, women's behavior carries away man's mind. So this is just how it works, mechanics of material world, right? And also in this verse, Srila Prabhupada explains that sex attraction is more clearly described in the next verse, so I would just briefly read the next verse. And the next verse says that while Shatadruti was thus being married, the demons, the denizens of Gandharva Loka, the great sages, and the denizens of Siddhaloka, the earthly planets and Nagaloka, although highly exalted, were all captivated by the tinkling of her ankle bells. Can you imagine that? So all these exalted personalities totally, focuses only on the tinkling of these ankle bells. Incredible. So man's mind is carried away. All that he is missing is actually there, right, in front of him, and he's absorbed. So Agni was basically not in love with Shatadruti, he just wanted her. And you can envision that. There is a sacrificial fire, she's circumambulating that fire, and so attachment increases. This is also not the first time that Agni actually behaved like this. It is also mentioned that he behaved like this in another instance with Suki. And this is also explained so this another instance, Pancharatna Prabhu, in this another instance, he actually went and he investigated where is that story, and this is so interesting to me. So this another instance which Agni is actually remembering is in the Mahabharata Vanaparva, when Markandeya narrates her story to Pandavas, and he says following. She says following: Swaha was the daughter of Daksha, so she fell in love with god of fire, Agni, and she was pursuing him. Agni didn't even notice her, so he presided over the sacrificial rituals of Saptarishis. The deity became highly besotted. Besotted is another word for strongly infatuated with the wives of the Saptarishis, who were so ravishing that he kept staring at them. So finally Agni could not bear the guilt of longing for wives belonging to someone else, and he went to the forest to perform penances. Swaha followed him, and she understood his desire. So she took the forms of the wives of Saptarishis, though she was unable to take the form of Arundhati, the wife of Vashista, because she was too chaste. And she approached Agni 6 times. So she was 6 times successful, seducing him and throwing the seed of each union into the golden pot from which Skanda was born. So one thing that is very interesting is in this verse, it is in the purport, it was mentioned that Agni was remembering this first time he felt so attracted. But as Pancharatna Prabhu is explaining here, there was actually several different stories, and most of them, they say that it's not one Saptarishi, it's actually Saptarishis. So it's 7 of them, and Agni is attracted to the wives of all of them. Can you imagine that? And so he felt so bad, and then he decided, okay, I need to go and do some penance in the forest because this is not good, right? But anyways, so Agni is fire, and Agni is fire, right? And what do we know about lust? It burns, right? It's a burning feeling in our hearts. So it's very, very good analogy. And what fire wants to do, it wants to consume, right? It's also a good analogy. It's always looking for something to feed itself on, right? So all this is present in the material world, and it's basic principle of this material world. And what is the result of this principle of attraction? Well, the result is that our hearts, they become tied in knots. And what is this knot? What is this heart? So when we speak about heart, what does it actually mean? So oftentimes we say something like, which is surely something you can relate to, give your heart to the holy name, or give your heart to the service of Krishna, right? But what do we really mean by that? So do we really give our minds? Do we give our bodies in this service? What it means to give our heart, right? So we can also give our bodies and not give our heart. We can also be chanting holy name physically and mechanically and still not give our heart. We can also be meditating and sitting down, hearing the holy name, and again, not give our heart. So what is it that heart is, and what is it